What's up, YouTube fam? It's Caroline, your certified health and fitness coach, here to share with you a very special expert guest. Kiana Loomis is a certified personal trainer, nutritionist, WBFF bikini pro, and NPC bikini champ. And she is the go-to source if you are looking to build lean muscle and feel sexy and confident in your own skin. I am so grateful that she's decided to be a guest on this channel to share with us her top tips on how to build muscle without getting bulky. This is a question that we get a lot as personal trainers. Women come to us and they want to build strength, but they're really worried about turning into the Incredible Hulk. And it's a serious concern. I get probably a couple emails every week. I don't want to strength train because I get huge when I strength train, and this is why it's just going to be such a gift to have Kiana share with us her expertise, her wisdom, her knowledge, and to help give you some insights on how you can build muscle without getting bulky, and how you can feel strong in your skin with a sustainable fitness program that really works. Kiana, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here and so happy to answer any of your questions, Caroline, and hopefully just provide some more insight to you guys, some more knowledge, some more education, so that you don't have to be kind of spinning your wheels in your fitness journey quite as much, and you can have a little bit of direction and feel like you're going to make some progress with all the effort that you put into it.
Because there's nothing worse than sweating and putting in the effort and the time into your fitness routine and feeling like you're not getting anywhere.
Yes.
And just feeling frustrated or dealing with nagging injuries that hold you back from achieving the results that you want. So I have a list of questions that are top questions that women come to me with on how to get muscular, lean muscles without getting bulky.
Yeah, kind of that curvy, hourglass, like sexy, lean muscle, but not too jacked type of look that most women seem to be seeking for these days.
Mm-hmm. So here's the number one question. What is the best way to build muscle without building bulk for women?
Okay, so to start off, we're going to kind of break down this question into really easy to understand components. So first of all, let's talk about weight gain and gaining mass on your body. So in order to gain weight, you have to be in a calorie surplus. You have to be eating more than you're expending on a daily basis. If you are not, you will not gain weight, regardless of whether or not it's body fat or muscle or whatever. So you need to be in a calorie surplus in order to gain weight. Muscle is weight, right? Muscle is just mass. It doesn't come out of thin air. Mass has to be transferred. So if you are to put on muscle, most of the time, there needs to be enough energy for that to happen. And that energy can come, it can already be stored on your body in body fat, in other areas, or it can come from the food that you're eating. So just by getting stronger and lifting weights, you're not going to pack on more weight unless you are eating enough to be packing on more weight. So to be gaining weight, you have to be in that calorie surplus. And if you are in that calorie surplus, you're going to gain weight, regardless of whether or not it's body fat or if it's muscle. So when it comes to working out to gain muscle and gain strength, really when you're looking at getting really bulky, that happens when you combine progressive overload-based strength training, which is how you gain sufficient amounts of muscle, with a decent calorie surplus. Those two things hand in hand can make you much bigger over time. However, if you have just the strength training piece and you keep calories under control, you keep them maintenance or below, or maybe even slightly above maintenance, but just not anything too crazy, you're not physically going to be able to get super big and super bulky. Now the second component is hormonal. So as women, we just do not contain the amount of testosterone that's needed to put on mass amounts of muscle in the same way that males do. So you'll say, oh, I don't want to lift like such and such, insert male name here, because I don't want to look like that. I have different goals. Well, you're not going to look like that because you don't have that hormonal profile. So your hormones will not allow you to bulk up to the same extent that men can bulk up. And they won't allow you, for the most part, to bulk up in the same places either. So testosterone is more of an androgenic hormone. And there are certain muscle groups that are more androgenic than other muscle groups, typically the upper body muscles. So that's why men have such an easier time bulking up their upper body, and why they generally have the capacity to get much bigger upper body muscles is because they have more androgen receptors, more testosterone, whereas women have less androgen receptors, and so they're not going to be able to bulk up those muscles in the same way as men. Those are the two biggest pieces. So if you're really that concerned about gaining all this bulk and all this mass when you start lifting weights, then you need to turn to your nutrition. So focus on what you're doing with nutrition, and try not to go too overboard, and making sure that you're not eating excessive amounts. Now, what happens a lot of times when you start lifting weights pretty intensely is you get hungrier, right? Because your body's burning through more calories. So you might need, even if you're someone who's never really kept an eye on calories before, never really had to worry about that, if you're noticing that when you start to lift weights, you start to gain a lot of weight, start to keep an eye on your calorie intake across the course of an entire week. So not just one day, but what you do consistently on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and then try to see if you can bring that back towards maintenance, or maybe even in a little bit of a deficit, so that you can stop gaining that weight. Like I said, you will not be gaining weight. Lifting weights does not make women huge, all right? A calorie surplus can make women huge. So if you don't want to be gaining tons and tons of muscle when you're lifting weights, still focus on progressive overload, still focus on getting stronger, but just focus on keeping your calories a little bit more moderate. You also don't have to starve yourself, but somewhere around maintenance, or maybe in a slight deficit, is going to be much more likely to create that hourglass sort of physique that many women are looking for, with those lean toned muscles, versus just starving yourself and avoiding weight training, or just doing cardio, or trying not to get stronger because you fear getting bulky.
So many women just do cardio and Pilates because they don't want to get bulky, but they're limiting themselves onto achieving the lean muscle that they want because they're not training properly.
Absolutely. So if you have a little bit more muscle on your frame, it's going to be a lot easier to look toned as well. If you don't have a ton of muscle on your frame, you're going to have to be very, 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 very small in order to see any muscle definition at all. So you're going to have to get rid of essentially all of the body fat that's on you, which is not very healthy, and you're going to just have to get so small and so lean in order to see any muscle definition. Whereas if you have a little bit more muscle, you'll have an easier time letting that muscle definition show through, even if you're not quite as small or quite as lean.
So if you were to put it into bullet points, the best way to gain muscle without gaining bulk would be
stay at calorie maintenance or below, focus on progressive overload, and those are the two main things.
That's it, folks. I mean, really. And if you are frustrated because you've been doing the same thing over and over and not seeing results, I definitely want to encourage you to try something different. I think a lot of people are scared to step into the weight room because they fear injuries. They're scared of looking like the Incredible Hulk. They don't actually know what to do in the weight room. It's intimidating. It feels like a very ego-driven place. So I want to encourage you to find a coach or find a group of people to help educate yourself about strength training, and get into the weight room and challenge yourself with something new and different, so you can surprise yourself with the results you can see. Now here's a question. Is it possible, this is something that I think the viewers would really like to know, to get the same results with at-home workouts, or do you need a gym?
Okay, so this is a good question. Of course, it depends on multiple factors, like what do you have at home? So some people have like a fully equipped home gym, and obviously that's going to be a little different than someone that's working with just one pair of 5-pound dumbbells, you know? And it also depends on your starting point. So if you're starting kind of from ground zero, you're like, I've never done strength training before, or maybe I don't even work out, I need to kind of get started, you can make a lot of progress just not having very much equipment at all. Having maybe even just body weight. You can go from 0 to 1, 2, 3 fairly easily, or not, I won't say easily because you still have to put effort in, but you won't need a lot of equipment. If you're someone who's already fairly advanced, you're going to need to implement methods that allow you to continue forcing your body to adapt to stressors that are more demanding than your body is already used to. So if doing like a bunch of body weight work is really easy for you and your body's already accustomed to that, you're not going to be able to see further results and further changes. So it sort of depends on what kind of results you're looking for, what kind of equipment you have access to at home. But at a certain point, I would say that almost everyone is probably going to benefit from stepping foot in a gym, because you'll have access just to more weight, like I said, unless you have a very extensive, fully equipped home gym. There's going to be a certain point when you're too strong for the stuff that you have at home, and so being able to continue to add weight is going to be the only way to continue to challenge yourself. There's other things you can do to make at-home workouts more challenging, but at a certain point, if you want to continue progressing and not just maintain, then stepping foot in a gym would probably be a good idea. That's not to say that you can't make some progress at home, because you absolutely can.
And home is accessible, and maybe you find a hybrid of some at-home workouts for more mobility, stretching, recovery, and then you go into the gym for more progressive overload, so that you can overcome plateaus and continue to see results and keep your routine fresh and fun and exciting.
Absolutely, yeah.
So here's a question, because I have a lot of subscribers that are 50 and up, and they're going through a lot of different hormonal changes, and they're worried about weight gain and fat gain. Would strength training be appropriate for them, and what kind or how should they start?
Absolutely. So strength training is going to be probably your best modality in terms of exercise. Some things that you just want to consider are making sure that you're recovering really well. So you're getting enough sleep, you're eating well. You want to focus on progressive overload. And progressive overload is just the idea that you're forcing your body to adapt to more overload over time. So it basically means getting stronger or adding more weight over time. And strength training is going to be probably the number one protocol or exercise method that you want to focus on, because it's not only going to help strengthen you in your old age and help keep you more capable and functional as you get older, but it's also going to be the best for changing your body composition. So packing on a little bit more muscle or keeping the strength in the muscle that you do have is going to make it a lot harder to gain body fat. It's also going to help hormonally. So there are some hormonal signaling that happens when you gain muscle, and it can combat some of the hormonal changes to an extent that you experience during menopause. The best way to start would be with free weights, probably. I would start with things that you're able to load over time, that focus on compound movements. And compound movements are just any exercise basically any strength training exercise where you're moving at two joints at once. So, like a shoulder press, you're moving at your shoulder and your elbow. But like a lateral raise, you're only moving at your shoulder. So that's not a compound. So we want to focus on the big compounds, things like squats, deadlifts, pressing, pulling, hip thrusts. All those types of things are going to help strengthen multiple muscle groups at once and help your body work as one machine in conjunction with each other, as opposed to just isolating one little movement.
Totally. And I think a lot of people are very intimidated when they're older of getting injured in the gym with strength training. But let me tell you, I see way more injuries from cardiovascular training, repetitive stress injuries, than I ever do with strength training injuries. Mostly because strength training, you're moving at a pace where you're really able to focus on form and breath and the right load to help you achieve results, versus just pounding the pavement and doing 10,000 steps. The body takes that stress over time, and if you're older, I've seen a lot of masters athletes start at any age learning how to strength train and improving their health and well-being through the benefits of progressive overload, like Kiana is talking about.
Yeah, and I think there's this stigma that once you get to a certain age, it's like, okay, whatever you've done up to that point, like that's kind of where you limited yourself. Mm-hmm. But you can start strength training at literally any age, and it will benefit you. You can start getting stronger in your 50s, 60s, 70s. I've worked in bodybuilding gyms for years and years on end, and I've known bodybuilders well into their 70s, and they move well, they function well, they don't have any nagging pains or injuries, and they continuously get stronger week in and week out, month in and month out. There are some considerations that they might have to take that, maybe a 20-year-old wouldn't have to take, but it's still benefiting them, and they're still able to continue lifting weights and being strong and benefiting from lifting weights well into the later years of their life, all the way up until essentially they decide to stop. I've never seen, no one's ever gone backwards from beginning weight training in terms of health and fitness.
So if you're a viewer and you're sitting there like, man, I really want to build lean muscle and I've been doing the same things or whatever my routine is just not working and it feels like I'm running into a brick wall and I want to build muscle but I don't want to get bulky, what would you say is their starting point? What should they do today if they want to change the results they're seeing? What should they do?
Start tracking nutrition. Pay attention to calorie intake, because like we discussed earlier, that's pretty important if you want to change the size of your body in one way or the other, gain weight or lose weight. And then start with a program based on progressive overload, a strength training based progressive overload program. And don't focus your workouts or your training program around cardio exercise. And that's a really hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. And it's not that you can't ever do cardio exercise, but don't have it be your bread and butter to changing your physique, because it's not going to be very effective. So it can be helpful for like a feel-good thing. It can help with cardiovascular health, but your bread and butter for your physique changes, strength changes, for overall well-being in your younger years, your middle years, well into your older years is by far and above going to be strength training and focusing on progressive overload with that strength training and getting stronger and more capable over time.
Something Kiana said that I love is that strength training can change your body. Cardio is just a tool. It's a tool to what?
Absolutely. It can increase your calorie deficit if that's something that you're looking to do. But again, increasing your calorie deficit is never going to change the shape of your body. It's only going to change the size. So if you don't necessarily love the shape of your body, being in a calorie deficit is just going to make you smaller. If you are a smaller version of what you already are. If you're strength training, you can change the shape. You can change what your physique actually looks like.
So I know this is a lot of information, but feel free to rewatch this video as many times as you need to understand all of the wonderful information that Kiana has shared with us today. What's the last thing you want to tell viewers before we part ways?
I would say that I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but a big reason for people shying away from strength training is that it's intimidating. And I just want to say that I know not only is it intimidating, but it's mentally very hard to break away from a routine that you've been so used to doing for so many years. And it's sometimes mentally hard to break away from this idea that cardio and just focusing on burning as many calories as possible in your workout isn't going to be effective to help you lose body fat or change your body. And I want you to try to challenge that notion, challenge that mindset, and really challenge yourself to get in the weight room, challenge yourself to get strong. Don't underestimate what your body is capable of, and try to start viewing fitness as less of a how many calories can I burn and more of a how strong and capable can I be.
That is gold. That is gold. If you take nothing from this video, just that statement in and of itself is something you should write down in your journal and reread every single day. Just this video is just not enough time with Kiana and her amazing expertise and all the gifts of her knowledge. So I want you to make sure you go follow her. All of her social links are included in the description box below. She drops gold in her Instagram stories. Watch them, educate yourself so that you can empower yourself through strength and health from fitness professionals who really know what is up. So click the links in the description box below to learn more about Kiana, to follow her on all of her social platforms. She also has an online strength program. So if you're learning and trying to dive into learning what your body is capable of, she is your go-to source to find out what's up. Kiana, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to be sharing this video with Carolyn today and be sharing some information with you guys and just getting out there in front of you guys. So thank you so much for having me, Carolyn.
It's such a pleasure. So guys, comment below on what you thought. Go follow her on social. And I am so grateful that you're part of this community, and I hope that you get your hands on some strength training soon so that you can build muscle and feel your best in your life. Thanks, Kiana.
Thank you so much.